We were living in a very small flat, and we had a son, so we were looking for a bigger house, which is really difficult in Amsterdam. You know, housing prices are increasing very high. And then I haphazardly bumped into this old houseboat, and it was a really old boat. It was really difficult to ship to some other areas. In the end, we could sell it for €1 to someone.
You basically bought the rights to this spot.
Yes.
You didn't really. This is all new.
So this is all new.
Yeah. And it was more affordable than buying in the city.
Much more affordable.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because sort of way this hasn't developed so hard as actual ground. But you know, water, or you know, there's also land under here. But it's just like I don't know, the idea of water and floating, that it doesn't really feel like something you own or something.
So you just have a big swimming pool, right?
Yeah, we're actually like floating in a swimming pool. So if you want, you can also jump from here in the water. It's a little bit high, but you can literally jump down here. This area transformed very much. So in the beginning it was more like people working on ships. So they had a boat, they slept on it, and then at some time they decided to stay. And that developed into a small village. And then other people found out you could actually live quite cheaply on a houseboat. That developed more and more, and now you have like water yuppies. So they're constantly building here. You heard like construction noise. And I didn't know that when I built this house. There's a Dutch saying, koop een boot en bouw je dood, which means buy a boat and build till you die, basically. And that's true, because you constantly have to work on your building because it's in a marine environment, it's wet. A lot of these houseboats, they use like plastic materials which won't decay. I don't really like plastic, so it was really quite difficult to find a material which is like actually natural. For example, the facade is made of timber. We used a special kind of timber. It's called Metatrichoya MDF, and they give a warranty of 50 years to that. So we actually don't have to worry about that. We only have to paint the windows carefully, you know, once every 10 years. So the panels are a fish kill pattern. It prevents the water from coming inside or behind the panels. We also had a very tight budget, so I basically designed from a floor plan and decided to keep everything really simple, so it looks like a really simple box. The design is very rational. We started from the top. There is a zoning law, so we could only build 5.5 meters high. We built from that 5.5 meters down in section. Yeah, it was a literal like a puzzle, because it's a boat and it floats. It's just a concrete box with a timber structure on top of it. But there is a difference between old houseboats and new houseboats, because this can carry a lot of weight. So the balance is very important. For example, a bathroom is probably more heavy than like a living room. So you have to think about your layout as well. So you have to, like, everything needs to be balanced. And also you have to think very carefully about height, because the docks, you know, are a little bit higher than the base ground floor. Yeah, you have all these differences in height. Whenever I work in my office, there is a lot of cats running here, and I can see them through this window, which is really great. The interior and the exterior are linked, and so I try to find, you know, like some sort of pattern. So this is the office, and as you can see, the differences in height. So this is a sliding door which can be moved, you know, if this is like for when we use it as an office. So to keep this open plan feeling, I wanted to keep this bridge, you know, as small as possible, or that this element would be almost nothing. So I decided to hang it on the beams up here and just make a very thin piece of wood and connect it together.
Your children wouldn't...
They aren't allowed here. Yeah, we have to be careful, but during the week it's my office, and the idea was in the beginning that we could also rent it, you know, for Airbnb or stuff like that. You know, we had a small budget and we had to be flexible. So this is a bed sofa, and whenever you have guests you can just open it. It's a hidden hinge. There's also some extra counterweight which helps, makes it lighter. And you know, it's very simple. Then you have another bed. And underneath the stairs is a small bathroom for guests. There's a shower and a toilet. Most of the tables I've made with leftovers from the wood. Up here is a workspace, and so this is like a leftover from the wood. And you know, the construction is super simple. It's like, for example, these steel balustrades. I went to a welding course. During that course you get to know how materials work and what you can do and what you can't do. And this bridge basically is very simple. It's just a piece of plywood connected with some made-to-measure cables. What's also really nice is that, for example, you see a lot of birds out here. And swans also swimming here, ducks. And even fish. You can literally like fish in the water and you can eat it. And I swim here. So in summer I can just open the window and jump out of it.
It's deep enough.
It's deep, it's 2 meters deep. And then you can make a nice tour, you know, along all the boats. And there are a lot of children playing outside as well. First houseboats were probably from 60s, maybe even a bit earlier. And then built with concrete as well. But they are very unbalanced. So I heard a story of someone who invited a little bit too much guests for his party. And then during the party it was sinking. The balance is, so this part of the boat is similar, you know, the size as the other part of the boat. So that's like the balance. And in between is more like the bathrooms, machine room, and 2 small children rooms. So this is a children's bedroom. So this is like the middle part. And this is an east room, but it's the same as Saul's.
Okay.
And this is our master bedroom.
You kept the ceiling kind of open.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to design from that 5.5 meters. So that's the maximum allowed height. And then go down. There was also like a limited height which you could go down below water. So we're now probably 1.5 meter below water. So the ceilings could only be 2.4 meters high. And I wanted to feel that the ceilings were a bit higher. So that was why I decided to expose the beams. So it feels a little bit higher. And also add some sort of rhythm. But sometimes the swans like are swimming past this window, and you can feed them, and it's really beautiful.
So if you're underwater, how does that work? The way to make something go underwater is...
So it's basically a concrete hull. The weight of the house puts it down. It's actually like the volume which the water is moved by the floating hull is actually the weight it can carry. It's really simple. Before building it, you actually have to calculate the weight of the building, and then you know how deep it will sink. And so it's quite complex design. I really love that. It's like, yeah, it's something totally new for me as well. So I was acquainted a little bit to floating houses already. But the reality is it's even more complicated because of all the height differences. So you have the water, you have the docks, then you have zoning laws. That's what makes it really interesting.
It makes it more fun as an architect.
Yeah, it makes it more fun. It's like a puzzle. So another step, some other steps. And this is the living area. And from the beginning I used the tatami mats, Japanese tatami mats, as an inspiration for this project. On the outside you could see the different panels and the dimensions. So the proportion of the tatami mats is similar to a lot of building board materials. And I decided to use that as a grid for the house. Because building board materials, you use your materials very economically. And there's very little leftovers from materials. And it's obviously also, the golden section is also a portion which is used in history a lot. When you are actually in a space, you feel that the space relates, so everything relates. So window sizes, floor spans, the dimensions of a room. I think that feels very balanced and very harmonical, and therefore beautiful. So most of the furniture in here I designed as well. So this, for example, this oak table also uses little materials. So this is the kitchen island, and I like that the kitchen doesn't feel too much as a kitchen. And I think it's great that you can sit here whenever you invite some friends and you're cooking, that they still, that you can sit at a table. And on the other side there's some storage space. So on this side there's stools. I'll sit over here if you want to. And a chair for you.
Thank you.
When if you have like a big open area and there's too much happening, it can feel a bit too chaotic or something. And I'll pull you some drinks. You don't have a lot of things going on, so I really like the minimal look. And it's also much more easy to clean. You can just put these away and then it feels more like a piece of furniture. So we have 2 small children, so we don't want them obviously to go up onto these stairs. So we saw this in an old church and it works really well. It's just really simple. You can open these.
So it's instead of a baby gate or something.
Exactly,
right?
yeah, like a baby gate. It's super complex or it doesn't look very nice. And this is really simple. This area is super dense. I think it has a floor space index, which is a term which you can use for density of 1. So it's super dense. So I think like outskirts of city could develop this more. But Amsterdam doesn't do that very much because you have to build the docks and there's like fire regulations. So for like new projects, the space between the houseboats is much bigger because of fire regulations. But I think, if you construct your house well, that it's fireproof in some sort of way, then it's absolutely possible to build in this density. And the rising of the water, this is like a perfect solution. And you can put a lot of solar panels on your roof. You can even use the heat of the water to heat your home. The contact with the neighbors is really nice. And the quality of life is really good. Maybe you don't have a lot of privacy, but people are helping constantly, and I really like that community feeling. I think it's actually a floating village.